The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing quarterly reports at my desk. Subject line: Urgent. Legal notice, Martinez family matter. My coffee went cold as I read the first line. This serves as formal notification that Robert and Linda Martinez are pursuing legal action against Jessica Martinez for breach of family contract in the amount of $400,000. $400,000. For my sister Ashley's wedding. A wedding I'd already contributed $15,000 toward over the past 2 years. A wedding that was supposed to cost $30,000 total when we first discussed it. Now they were claiming I owed them nearly $500,000, and they were taking me to court to get it. My hands shook as I scrolled through the legal document attached. Breach of family obligation. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Interference with family business relationships. The language was formal and cold, nothing like the parents who used to help me with homework and cheer at my soccer games. These people were strangers wearing my family's names. I closed my laptop and walked to the bathroom, where I splashed cold water on my face and stared at my reflection. 28 years old, marketing manager at a growing tech company, owner of a small condo in Scottsdale, and now defendant in a lawsuit filed by my own parents. How had it come to this? Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The story started 3 years ago, at a family barbecue in my parents' backyard in Glendale. Ashley had just gotten engaged to Brandon, and the whole family was celebrating with carne asada and margaritas under the string lights my dad had hung between the mesquite trees. The Arizona sun was setting behind South Mountain, painting everything golden, and for once, our family felt like those perfect Instagram posts Ashley was always trying to create. "We want something small and intimate," Ashley announced, holding up her ring for the 100th time that day. "Maybe 30 people max. Just family and close friends. We're thinking 15 to 20,000 total." My mom nodded approvingly while flipping tortillas on the comal. "Mija, that's very sensible. Your father and I can contribute maybe 8,000, and we'll help with decorations and food prep." That's when Ashley turned to me with those big brown eyes that had gotten her out of trouble since we were kids. "Jess, I know you're doing really well with your job and everything. Would you maybe want to help too? I mean, you're my only sister. I'd just gotten a promotion to senior marketing coordinator, and yes, I was doing well financially. I'd been saving aggressively since college, living below my means, building an emergency fund. The kind of financial responsibility my parents had always praised me for, at least until that moment. "How much are you thinking?" I asked, though I could already feel the familiar weight of family expectations settling on my shoulders. "Maybe 10 or 15,000? I know it's a lot, but you're so good with money, and Brandon and I are just starting out. We'll pay you back once we get established." I looked around the table at my family's expectant faces. My dad was nodding encouragingly. Tyler, my younger brother, was too busy with his phone to pay attention. My mom had that hopeful expression she got when she was about to ask for a favor. 15,000, I said finally, but only for the actual wedding ceremony and reception, not engagement parties or bachelorette trips or anything like that. Ashley squealed and jumped up to hug me. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're the best sister ever." "And it's a loan," I added quickly. "I'll need it back within 2 years. "Of course," Ashley said, though she was already distracted by showing Brandon her ring again. "Definitely." My dad raised his beer bottle. "To family helping family. That's what we do in this house." I should have gotten it in writing then. I should have listened to the little voice in my head that whispered this was a mistake. But it was family. And in our Mexican-American household, family came first. Always. My abuela had raised my dad with that principle, and he'd raised us the same way. Family helped family, no questions asked, no contracts needed. That night, I went home to my apartment and sent Ashley a detailed email outlining what I'd agreed to. $15,000 maximum contribution toward wedding ceremony and reception only. I copied my parents and asked everyone to confirm they understood the terms. Ashley replied with a string of heart emojis and a "yes, yes, yes, love you." My parents never responded to the email at all. 6 months later, the first cracks started showing. Ashley called me crying because the venue she wanted in Sedona cost more than their entire original budget. It's just so perfect, Jess. Red rocks and sunset views, and they handle everything. But it's $40,000 just for the venue. Ashley, that's more than double what you said the whole wedding would cost. I know, but we can make it work. Brandon's been picking up extra shifts, and Mom said you might be able to contribute more since you got another promotion. I had gotten another promotion to marketing manager with a significant salary increase, but I'd also started saving for an MBA program and was looking at buying a condo. The last thing I wanted was to blow my carefully planned financial goals on a wedding that was spiraling out of control. I can stick to the $15,000 we agreed on, I said carefully. But that's really my limit. But Jess, you make so much more than Brandon and me combined, and you don't have kids or a mortgage or anything. $15,000 is nothing to you. Nothing to me. As if the money I'd earned through years of 60-hour work weeks and careful budgeting was somehow less valuable because I'd chosen not to get married or have children yet. As if my financial success meant I owed it to everyone else to solve their problems. It's not nothing to me, Ashley. I work hard for my money, and I have my own goals and plans. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, my mom called. Misha, your sister is very upset. This wedding means everything to her, and she's counting on your help. I am helping, Mom. $15,000 is a lot of money. But you could afford more. You're doing so well, and Ashley struggled so much. Can't you just be generous with your family? That word. Generous. As if I hadn't already been generous. As if $15,000 for a wedding wasn't already more than generous. As if I hadn't spent the last 3 years helping with Ashley's various failed business ventures. Lending her money for her online boutique that sold exactly 12 items before shutting down. Covering her portion of family dinners because she was always between opportunities. I'm being as generous as I can be, Mom. I have my own life to think about. Well, maybe you should think about what family means too. The guilt trips escalated from there. Suddenly, every family gathering became an opportunity to discuss wedding costs and my financial situation. My dad would mention how well his real estate business was doing, followed immediately by a comment about how much better mine was doing. Tyler would joke about his rich sister who could afford to buy everyone's happiness. Ashley would post Instagram stories about wedding stress and having to, quote, scale back dreams because of budget constraints. The worst part was that I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe $15,000 really wasn't enough. Maybe I should want to give my sister the perfect wedding she'd dreamed of since we were kids playing dress up in my mom's closets. So when Ashley's bridal shower came around, I paid for the venue and catering. $3,000 that I told myself was separate from the wedding fund, just a gift for my sister. When her bachelorette party required a weekend in Vegas, I covered her hotel and flight costs. Another $2,500, but it was her bachelorette party, and I was the maid of honor. These things didn't count toward the wedding budget, right? By the time we got to the final wedding planning phase, I'd already spent $2,500 beyond my original $15,000 commitment. But Ashley and my parents had escalated their plans beyond anything we'd originally discussed. The Sedona venue was just the beginning. Designer dress, professional videographer, premium bar package, destination bachelor party for Brandon, custom linens, live band instead of DJ, upgraded menu, extended photo session, luxury transportation for the wedding party. When my mom called me into the family real estate office for what she described as a quote, final budget meeting, I thought we were going to discuss logistics. Instead, I walked into an intervention. Ashley was already crying when I arrived, surrounded by tissue boxes and wedding magazines. My parents sat across from her with serious expressions and a laptop open between them. Brandon hovered awkwardly near the water cooler, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Jess, we need to talk, my dad said without his usual warm greeting. Sit down. I sat in one of the client chairs, the same ones where I'd watched my parents help families find their dream homes throughout my childhood. Now I felt like I was on trial. The wedding costs have gotten out of hand, my mom began. We've tried to keep everything reasonable, but you know how these things go. One upgrade leads to another, and before you know it, you're looking at a much bigger number. How much bigger? I asked, though I was starting to suspect I didn't want to know. Ashley sniffled and pushed a spreadsheet across the desk. $85,000 total. I stared at the number. $85,000. For one day. For a wedding that was supposed to cost $20,000 maximum. Ashley, this is insane. This is more than most people make in a year. It's not insane, she shot back. It's my wedding day, the most important day of my life. And you're acting like I'm asking for something crazy. You are asking for something crazy. Where is this money supposed to come from? My dad cleared his throat. Well, your mother and I have refinanced the house. We can contribute $20,000. Ashley and Brandon have saved $5,000. That leaves $60,000. They all looked at me expectantly. $60,000. 4 times more than I'd originally agreed to contribute. I can't afford $60,000, I said simply. But Jess, my mom said gently, you make good money and you have savings. We know you can afford it. Having savings doesn't mean I should spend them on one day that isn't even mine. It's not just one day, Ashley said, her voice rising. It's the foundation of my marriage. It's the celebration of our love. It's memories that will last forever. Memories shouldn't cost $60,000. Maybe not to you, because you don't understand what it's like to be in love. The room went quiet. Ashley's words hung in the air, like smoke from a house fire, acrid and suffocating. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to correct her, to defend me, to remind her that love and money weren't the same thing. Instead, they avoided my eyes. I do understand love, Ashley. I also understand financial responsibility. What I don't understand is how we went from a $15,000 wedding to demanding I pay $60,000 for your dream venue and designer dress. We're not demanding anything, my dad said. We're asking family to help family. By threatening me if I don't pay for luxuries you can't afford? No one's threatening anyone, my mom said quickly. We're just trying to find a solution that works for everyone. But it wasn't a solution that worked for everyone. It was a solution that worked for Ashley and my parents while leaving me to foot the bill for their financial irresponsibility. I thought about my own dreams. My MBA program, the condo I was hoping to buy, the emergency fund I'd spent years building. All of it would be wiped out to pay for one extravagant party. I'll stick to my original commitment, I said finally. $15,000. That's what we agreed on, and that's what I can afford. The silence that followed felt like falling into a deep well. Ashley's face crumpled. My mom's expression hardened. My dad sat back in his chair and crossed his arms. So that's it? Ashley asked. You're just going to let my wedding be ruined because you don't want to spend your Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Precious money? Your wedding isn't ruined, Ashley. You're choosing to ruin it by planning something you can't afford. I can't believe you're being so selfish. I can't believe you think I'm selfish for not paying for your entire wedding. That's when my dad leaned forward, his voice taking on the tone he used with difficult clients. Jessica, we've supported you your whole life. We put you through college, helped you get your first car, co-signed your apartment lease when you didn't have credit. We've been there for every milestone, every achievement, every time you needed us. Now your sister needs you, and you're turning your back on family. The guilt hit like a physical blow. Everything he said was true. My parents had supported me, had made sacrifices for my education and opportunities. But they'd also supported Ashley through years of failed ventures and poor decisions. They'd refinanced their house to fund her dreams while expecting me to fund the rest. I'm not turning my back on family, I said quietly. I'm offering what I can afford, which is more than most sisters would contribute to a wedding. Most sisters don't make what you make, my mom pointed out. And most families don't expect one person to fund everyone else's dreams. Brandon finally spoke up from his corner. Maybe we should just scale back the wedding. Do something smaller. Ashley turned on him with fury. Don't you dare. This is supposed to be our perfect day, and I won't let her, she pointed at me, ruin it with her cheapness. I'm not cheap, Ashley. I'm realistic. You're selfish. You've always been selfish. Just because you make good money doesn't mean you're better than the rest of us. I never said I was better than anyone. You don't have to say it. You show it every time you talk about your career and your savings and your plans. Like the rest of us are just supposed to be impressed by how responsible you are. I stood up, feeling like I'd been slapped. I'm going home. When you want to have a reasonable conversation about wedding budgets, let me know. Don't walk away from us, my dad said sharply. We're not finished here. Yes, we are. I offered $15,000 3 years ago, and that offer stands. If that's not enough for the wedding you want, then you need to plan a different wedding. I made it to my car before the tears started. Ashley's words echoed in my mind as I drove home through the Phoenix traffic. Selfish, cheap, better than the rest of us. Was that really how my family saw me? Had my financial success somehow made me the villain in their story? That night, I called my best friend Maria, who listened to the whole story while I ate ice cream straight from the container. They want you to pay $60,000 for a wedding? She asked incredulously. $60,000 on top of the $10,000 I've already spent on related events. Jess, that's $70,000 total. That's more than my entire annual salary. I know, but they keep saying I can afford it, and technically, I can. I have the money in savings. Having money doesn't mean you should spend it on other people's fantasies. What about your MBA? What about buying a house? They think those things are selfish because they only benefit me. And Ashley's designer wedding benefits who exactly? That was the question that kept me awake that night. Who did Ashley's dream wedding really benefit? Not me. Not my parents, who were refinancing their house to pay for it. Not Brandon, who looked miserable every time money came up. Just Ashley, who seemed to believe that wanting something badly enough meant everyone else should pay for it. The next morning, I opened my laptop and started typing an email to my family. I outlined everything we'd discussed, from the original $15,000 agreement to the current $85,000 demand. I attached screenshots of our initial conversations and bank records showing what I'd already contributed. I wrote it all out clearly and calmly, hoping that seeing the numbers in black and white would help them understand my position. I never sent that email. Instead, I got a call from my mom that changed everything. Mija, we've been talking, and we think there might be a legal issue here. What kind of legal issue? Well, you made a commitment to help with Ashley's wedding, and now you're backing out. That's breach of contract. My stomach dropped. Mom, there was never a contract. We had a conversation at a barbecue. We have witnesses. We have the email you sent afterward. You committed to helping financially, and now you're refusing to honor that commitment. I committed to $15,000, which I've already exceeded. The circumstances changed. Wedding costs went up, and family adjusts to help each other. You can't just change the terms of an agreement because you want more money. We'll see about that. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my kitchen, staring at my phone, trying to process what had just happened. My own mother had just threatened to sue me over my sister's wedding expenses. The family that had raised me to value loyalty and love above everything else was now talking about taking me to court because I wouldn't fund their financial irresponsibility. That afternoon, I drove to Ashley's apartment to try one more time to talk sense into the situation. She answered the door in yoga pants and an old sorority t-shirt, her hair in a messy bun, looking nothing like the glamorous bride-to-be from her Instagram posts. What do you want, Jess? I want to understand how we got here. 3 years ago, you wanted a small, intimate wedding. Now you're demanding I pay for a luxury destination event. What happened? She stepped aside to let me in, and I saw wedding magazines scattered across every surface of her living room. Venue photos, dress designs, floral arrangements, catering menus. All of it expensive, all of it far beyond what a restaurant manager and an unemployed influencer could afford. I realized I deserve better, she said simply. I deserve the wedding I've dreamed about since I was a little girl. Ashley, we all deserve things we can't afford. That doesn't mean other people should pay for them. You're my sister. You're supposed to want me to be happy. I do want you to be happy, but I don't think happiness comes from spending $70,000 you don't have on one day. Easy for you to say. You've never been in love. You've never planned a wedding. You don't understand what this means to me. I thought about Daniel, my boyfriend of 2 years, who'd watched this whole family drama unfold with increasing concern. We'd talked about marriage, about our future together, about the kind of life we wanted to build. Neither of us had ever discussed spending more than most people's annual salary on a single day. Maybe I don't understand, I said carefully. But I understand working hard for money and not wanting to waste it. So my happiness is a waste to you? Your happiness isn't dependent on designer linens and premium bar packages, Ashley. You don't get to decide what my happiness depends on. And you don't get to decide how I spend my money. We stared at each other across her cluttered living room, sisters who suddenly felt like strangers. I remembered when we were kids, sharing a room and staying up late talking about our futures. Ashley wanted to be famous, a movie star or singer or model. I wanted to be successful, to have a career and financial security. Neither of us had imagined we'd end up here, fighting over money and family obligations and what love was supposed to cost. If you don't help me, Ashley said quietly, I'll never forgive you. And if you sue me over this, I'll never forgive you. 2 weeks later, the legal papers arrived. The lawsuit papers felt heavier than they should have. Thick legal documents that transformed my kitchen table into a courtroom. I read through them 3 times before the words really sank in. Breach of oral contract. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Interference with family business relationships. Damages sought. $400,000 plus attorney fees and court costs. $400,000. I kept coming back to that number, trying to understand the math. Even if I paid for Ashley's entire dream wedding, we were talking about maybe $90,000 total. Where did the other $310,000 come from? The answer was buried in the legal language, but it painted a picture that made my stomach turn. According to the lawsuit, my refusal to pay for Ashley's wedding had caused severe emotional distress, requiring therapy and medical intervention. It had damaged my parents' reputation in their real estate business, costing them clients who viewed them as unable to control their own family finances. It had forced Ashley to postpone her wedding, causing Brandon's family to lose deposits on flights and hotels. It had created ongoing family discord that had affected my brother Tyler's academic performance and required family counseling. Every consequence of their own poor financial planning was somehow being blamed on me. Every dollar they'd spent or lost because of this wedding was now my responsibility. They weren't just asking me to pay for Ashley's dream day anymore. They were asking me to pay for every ripple effect of their decision to plan a wedding they couldn't afford. I called in sick to work the next day and spent the morning sitting on my couch, staring at the legal papers and trying to figure out how my life had become a nightmare. My phone buzzed constantly with text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. Word was spreading through our extended family and my parents' social circles. The Martinez family drama was becoming public entertainment. The first call came from my tia Rosa, my dad's sister who lived in Tucson. Mija, I heard about the problems with Ashley's wedding. Your prima Jennifer went through something similar when she got married. These things happen, but family finds a way to work it out. I explained the situation as calmly as I could, but I could hear the confusion in her voice when I mentioned the lawsuit. In our family, in our culture, family disputes were handled around kitchen tables with lots of food and sometimes tears, but they were handled within the family. Taking your own daughter to court over wedding expenses was unheard of. Maybe you could just help a little more, she suggested gently. I know money is tight for everyone, but Ashley's your only sister. Tia? They want me to pay $70,000. The silence on the other end told me she was doing the math. $70,000 was more than she and my uncle made in a year combined. It was more than most people in our extended family had ever seen at one time. Ay, Dios mío, she whispered. For a wedding? That afternoon, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find my abuela, my dad's mother, standing on my doorstep with a casserole dish and the stern expression she reserved for family emergencies. At 78, she was still the undisputed matriarch of our family, the woman whose word could settle any dispute and whose approval everyone sought. We need to talk, she said, pushing past me into my apartment. I made coffee while she set the casserole in my refrigerator, and we sat at my small dining table like we had when I was a child and needed her guidance. But this time felt different. This time I wasn't sure whose side she was on. Tell me what happened, she said simply. I walked her through everything, from the original barbecue conversation to the legal papers now sitting on my coffee table. She listened without interrupting, her weathered hands wrapped around her coffee mug, her dark eyes never leaving my face. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "How much money do you have saved?" "Abuela, that's not really the point. Answer me." I hesitated. In our family, financial privacy wasn't really a thing. Everyone knew everyone else's business, and success was viewed as a family resource rather than individual achievement. But I'd worked hard to maintain some boundaries around my personal finances. "About $120,000, I said finally. She nodded slowly. "And you make how much at your job?" $75,000 a year, plus bonuses. "So you could afford to help more with the wedding." My heart sank. Even my abuela, the wisest person I knew, was going to side with my parents. Even she thought I should empty my savings account to fund Ashley's extravagant dreams. "Yes, technically I could afford it," I said carefully. "But that money is for my future. For graduate school, and buying a house, and emergencies." "And what about your sister's future?" "Her future is her responsibility, just like mine is mine." Abuela set down her coffee mug and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "When I came to this country with your grandfather, we had nothing. No money, no family, no connections. We worked in the fields, saved every penny, sacrificed everything so your father could have opportunities we never had." I'd heard this story before, but I let her continue. "Your father worked hard, became successful, bought a house, started a business. He gave you and Ashley and Tyler opportunities we could only dream of. Good schools, college education, help when you needed it. We built this family's success together, generation by generation." "I know, Abuela, and I'm grateful for everything you and Abuelo sacrificed. But you think that's where it ends? You think you can take what the family gave you and keep it all for yourself?" The words stung because there was truth in them. I had benefited from my family's sacrifices and support. I had used their foundation to build my own success. But that didn't mean I owed them unlimited access to the fruits of my labor. "I don't want to keep everything for myself," I said. I offered $15,000. "That's a significant contribution." $15,000 is nothing to you. It's less than what you probably spend on your car and your apartment and your fancy lifestyle." "My lifestyle isn't fancy, Abuela. I live in a modest apartment, drive a used car, and cook most of my meals at home. I save money because I want financial security." "Security for who? Just for you?" "For my future family. For my children someday. For emergencies and opportunities and all the things you taught me to plan for." She shook her head slowly. "You sound like a gringa, mija. All this talk about individual responsibility and personal finances. We are Mexican. We take care of each other." The accusation hit hard. In our family, being called a gringa wasn't just about culture or language. It was about values, about priorities, about whether you remembered where you came from. It meant you'd forgotten that family came first, always and without question. "I am taking care of family," I protested. "I'm just not bankrupting myself to do it." $15,000 isn't bankrupting yourself. $70,000 isn't bankrupting yourself. You have the money, and your sister needs it. Ashley doesn't need an $85,000 wedding, Abuela. She wants it. There's a difference. And you don't think your sister deserves to have what she wants on the most important day of her life? I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask why Ashley's wants were more important than my needs. I wanted to point out that I'd never asked the family to fund my dreams or my goals. I wanted to remind everyone that I'd worked for everything I had, while Ashley had spent years bouncing from one failed venture to another, always with family money to cushion her falls. Instead, I said quietly, "I think Ashley deserves to have a wedding she can afford. I think she deserves to start her marriage without massive debt and family resentment. I think she deserves to learn financial responsibility." Abuela stood up, her coffee barely touched. "Your parents are good people, Jessica. They raised you well, supported your dreams, celebrated your success. Now they're asking for help, and you're turning your back on them." "I'm not turning my back on anyone. I'm setting reasonable boundaries." "Boundaries." She said the word like it tasted bitter. "Another gringa concept. In our family, we don't have boundaries. We have love and obligation and sacrifice." After she left, I sat alone in my apartment, feeling like a stranger in my own life. Everything I'd thought I knew about myself, about my family, about our values, was being questioned. Was I being selfish? Was I prioritizing money over family? Had my financial success somehow changed me into someone my own grandmother couldn't recognize? I called Daniel, needing to hear a voice that didn't come loaded with guilt and accusations. "They're really suing you?" he asked, incredulous. $400,000. Plus attorney fees. Jesus, Jess, that's insane. Is it? Or am I the one being insane? Everyone thinks I should just pay for the wedding and move on. Everyone thinks you should pay $70,000 for someone else's party? It's not just a party to them. It's family obligation. It's cultural values. It's proving that success hasn't changed me. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Do you want to pay for it? The question caught me off guard. Not could I afford it, not should I pay for it, but did I want to? The honest answer was complicated. Part of me did want to pay for Ashley's wedding. I wanted to be the generous sister who made dreams come true. I wanted to see Ashley happy and excited instead of bitter and resentful. I wanted family gatherings to be celebrations instead of negotiations. I wanted to go back to being the daughter my parents were proud of, instead of the one they were suing. But a bigger part of me was tired of being everyone's solution to financial problems. I was tired of being expected to fund other people's dreams while putting my own on hold. I was tired of feeling guilty for working hard and saving money. I was tired of being told that my success created obligations I'd never agreed to. I want Ashley to be happy, I said finally. But I don't want to enable financial irresponsibility. I don't want to teach her that wanting something badly enough means someone else should pay for it. Then you're doing the right thing. Am I? Because it doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm destroying my family over money. You're not destroying anything, Jess. You didn't create this situation. You made a reasonable offer. And they're demanding more than you're comfortable giving. That's their choice, not yours. But it didn't feel like their choice when I was the one facing a lawsuit. It didn't feel like their choice when my own grandmother was questioning my values and my character. It didn't feel like their choice when I was lying awake at night wondering if I was becoming the kind of person who valued money more than family. The next morning brought a new wave of pressure. My phone rang at 7 a.m. with a call from my Tio Miguel, my mom's brother who owned a small construction business. He'd heard about the family situation and wanted to offer his perspective. "Jessie, you know I've always been proud of you," he began. "You worked hard, got a good education, built a career. That's the American dream right there." I felt a glimmer of hope that someone in my family might understand my position. But sometimes when we're successful, we forget the people who helped us get there, he continued. Your parents supported you through college, helped you with your first apartment, were there for every achievement. Now they need help, and you're counting dollars instead of counting blessings. Tio, they're not asking for help. They're demanding I pay for luxuries they can't afford. It's your sister's wedding, not a vacation to Europe. It's an $85,000 destination wedding with a designer dress and premium everything. That's not a necessity. Maybe not to you, but it is to Ashley. And Ashley is family. The conversation continued for 20 minutes, with my uncle alternating between gentle guilt and direct criticism. By the time I hung up, I felt like I'd been through emotional combat. Every family member who called had the same message. I was being selfish, unreasonable, and unfamily-like. Money shouldn't matter more than love. Success shouldn't change your values. Good daughters help their families without keeping score. But I was keeping score, and the numbers didn't lie. Over the past 3 years, I'd contributed over $10,000 to Ashley's various events and ventures. I'd paid for bridal showers, engagement parties, bachelorette activities, and startup costs for businesses that never made a profit. I'd covered family dinners when Ashley was between jobs and loaned money that was never repaid. The $15,000 I'd originally committed to her wedding was on top of years of financial support. Meanwhile, Ashley had never contributed to family celebrations for my achievements. When I got my promotion, I paid for my own celebration dinner. When I bought my car, I handled all the costs myself. When I wanted to take a vacation or buy something special, I saved my own money and made my own plans. I'd never expected family members to fund my desires or dreams. The double standard was becoming impossible to ignore, but pointing it out only made me sound petty and money-obsessed. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I drove to a small law office in downtown Phoenix, where I'd made an appointment with attorney Patricia Williams, a family law specialist who'd been recommended by a colleague. Her office was nothing like the fancy corporate firms I'd imagined, just a converted house with mismatched furniture and law books stacked everywhere. Patricia Williams was in her 50s, with graying hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking occasional notes on a yellow legal pad. $400,000, she said when I finished. That's quite a claim for a wedding dispute. Is it legal? Can they really sue me for this? They can file a lawsuit, yes. Whether they can win is another question entirely. Tell me about this original agreement. Do you have anything in writing? I pulled out my phone and showed her the email chain from 3 years ago. She read through it carefully, then looked up at me with raised eyebrows. This is very clear. $15,000 maximum. For ceremony and reception only. There's no ambiguity here. But they're saying circumstances changed, that families should adapt to help each other. Legal contracts don't work that way. You can't unilaterally change the terms of an agreement because you want more money. Even oral contracts have binding elements, and you have written documentation of the terms you agreed to. Relief flooded through me. For the first time since this nightmare began, someone was telling me I wasn't crazy, that my position was reasonable and legally sound. What about the $400,000 claim? I asked. Patricia flipped through the lawsuit papers again. This is what we call a shotgun approach. They're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Emotional distress, business damages, family counseling costs, lost deposits, ongoing harm. Most of it won't hold up in court. Most of it? Well, if they can prove actual financial losses directly caused by your decision not to pay for the wedding, they might have a small claim. But $400,000? No. This looks like a pressure tactic. A pressure tactic? They're hoping a lawsuit will scare you into settling. That you'll agree to pay for the wedding rather than go through the stress and expense of defending yourself in court. It's a common strategy in family disputes. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own parents were using fear and intimidation to force me to empty my savings account. They were betting that I'd rather pay than fight, that family loyalty would make me cave to their demands. What should I do? I asked. That depends on what you want to achieve. If you want this to go away quickly, you could offer a settlement. Pay some portion of the wedding costs in exchange for them dropping the lawsuit. And if I want to fight it? Then we file a response, gather evidence, and prepare for litigation. It will be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally draining. Family lawsuits are particularly brutal because everyone involved knows exactly how to hurt each other. I thought about Ashley's words at the family meeting, about being selfish and money-obsessed. I thought about my abuela's accusation that I'd become too gringa to understand family obligations. I thought about months or years of legal battles, depositions, court appearances, and public scrutiny of our family's financial affairs. How much would it cost to fight? I asked. Probably $20,000 to $30,000 in legal fees, assuming it doesn't drag on too long. $20,000 to $30,000 to prove I didn't owe $70,000. The irony wasn't lost on me. Can I think about it? Of course, but don't wait too long. You have 30 days to respond to the lawsuit, and time goes quickly once legal wheels start turning. I drove home through the Phoenix afternoon traffic, my head spinning with decisions and consequences. Fighting the lawsuit would be expensive and traumatic, but settling would feel like rewarding my family's manipulation. Either way, I was going to lose money. Either way, my relationships with my parents and sister were probably damaged beyond repair. That evening, my doorbell rang again. This time it was Tyler, my younger brother, holding a pizza box and wearing the sheepish expression he'd perfected over years of asking for favors. "I brought dinner," he said. "Figured you might not be cooking much these days." I let him in, grateful for company that didn't come with lectures or guilt trips. Tyler was still in college, still young enough to avoid taking sides in family drama. At 23, he was caught between childhood loyalty to our parents and adult understanding of financial reality. We ate pizza on my couch while he told me about his classes and his part-time job at a campus bookstore. Normal conversation felt surreal after days of legal threats and family confrontations. So he said eventually, "This wedding thing is pretty intense. That's one way to put it. Mom and Dad are really upset. Ashley's been crying for days. The whole house feels like a funeral." "I'm sorry you're caught in the middle of this, Tyler." "I'm not caught in the middle. I'm choosing a side." I looked at him in surprise. Tyler had always been the family peacemaker, the one who avoided conflict and tried to make everyone happy. "I think what they're doing is wrong," he said simply. "I think $70,000 for a wedding is insane, and I think suing you is even more insane." "Did you tell them that?" I tried. Dad told me I was too young to understand family obligations. Mom said I'd feel differently when I got married someday. Ashley said I was taking your side because you're helping me with college. I'd been helping Tyler with some of his expenses, things like textbooks and gas money that his partial scholarship didn't cover. Nothing major, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 over the past 2 years. But apparently, even that small assistance was being viewed as favoritism and manipulation. "Are you taking my side because I help you financially?" I asked. Tyler looked genuinely offended. "No, Jess. I'm taking your side because you're right. You offered to help, they said yes. Now they want more, and they're suing you when you won't pay. That's not how family works. According to everyone else, it's exactly how family works. Then everyone else is wrong." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, eating pizza and avoiding the elephant in the room. Finally, Tyler spoke again. "There's something you should know about the money." "What about it?" "Dad didn't just refinance the house for Ashley's wedding. He took out way more than $20,000. My stomach dropped. "How much more?" "I don't know exactly, but I heard him on the phone with someone from the bank. He was talking about $50,000, maybe more." $50,000? Where did the rest go?" Tyler shrugged. "Business expenses," he said. "The real estate market's been tough, and he needed cash flow for marketing and office costs. So my parents had refinanced their house, taking on massive debt, and were now expecting me to bail them out of their financial hole. The wedding was just the excuse. They needed my money to cover their own poor business decisions." "Tyler, you can't tell them I know about this." "I won't. But Jess, they're in real trouble. Like, might lose the house trouble. That's why they're so desperate for you to pay." The picture was becoming clearer and more disturbing. My parents had made risky financial decisions, assuming I'd be there to cover their mistakes. When I refused to cooperate, they'd escalated to legal threats and family manipulation. The wedding was just the vehicle for extracting money they needed for their own survival. "What are you going to do?" Tyler asked. "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to let them bankrupt me to save themselves." After Tyler left, I sat alone with the knowledge that everything was worse than I'd thought. This wasn't just about Ashley's wedding anymore. This was about my parents' financial survival and their assumption that my success made me responsible for their failures. The next morning, I called Patricia Williams and made another appointment. It was time to stop reacting and start planning. If my family wanted a legal fight, I was going to give them one they'd never forget. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.